Emerson, you're back in an old race car. What does it feel like for you?
No, it's a lot of good memories of this car because in 1970, in January, we had the South America Championship and with Formula 4, and I drove the Lotus 61. Was painted Brazilian colors, was yellow with a green stripe.
Beautiful.
And after so many years to go back in the cockpit here is fantastic.
So it feels a little bit like coming home again?
For sure. And I really, all the memories driving the championship was fantastic. And it was the beginning of my relationship with Lotus.
And have you been very successful with a car like this?
I won the championship in Brazil with this car. And it was fun to drive. It was fun to race in São Paulo. We raced many different towns.
Yeah.
It was winter in Europe, and it was summer in Brazil. And it was drivers from all over the world racing. And it was fun. Very hot. It was nice.
So, Emerson, we started our short interview with this Formula Ford. You said you started there, you raced with that in the 1970s, and that was the same year when you had your first Formula One race.
I raced in England at the Formula 3 car, and then this South America Championship, I raced at Lotus 61. And then, beginning of the year, I drove the Formula 2, and in July I was driving the Formula 1. I was very fast into Formula 1.
And what was it? What did it feel for you at that time to be first time in a Formula One race?
I was even surprised that I was very lucky to have Colin Chapman to ask me to drive for him. And the first day, I was driving Silverstone with Jochen Rindt. And Jochen drove my car before I drove, give me some instructions to me. And then when I start, after 10 laps, Jochen was giving the signboard with my lap time. It's a shame I don't have a picture, but still my memory, because Jochen always helped me, support me, since I was Formula 2 with him.
And that was also the year Jochen died. And what are your memories of him? You said he always helped you, and he was a real nice guy?
He was very nice to me, very nice to... as a gentleman. You know, he was very intelligent, Jochen, extremely talented. He was a natural talent driving. And it was a big tragedy when we lost in Monza. But that's the destined part of life, and I'm very happy. Thanks God I'm here. Every day I thank God, because it has been a very tough time, that time.
And so you started racing in the team of Colin Chapman. What was he like?
Colin was a genius. He was like my mentor. I drove for Lotus for 5 years, and it was fantastic to work with Colin. He had, like Jochen was very natural driver, Jochen, and Colin had intuition to get the car working. He always ahead of everybody.
And, well, the first Formula One championship you won with the Lotus?
And the Lotus 72 was a fantastic car. From all the cars I raced in my life, I raced many different cars. For sure, it was the best. It was the best car.
And what did it feel for you to be a world champion? At these times, you were the youngest Formula One world champion.
For me, it was everything happened so fast. When I left Brazil, I had the dream to drive a Formula One car. I never expected that I could win the championship, and it was, you know, a gift from God for me to win the championship. It was a big, even to me, it was a surprise.
But then you said Jochen was very talented. You were very talented too at those times.
Yeah, I always liked racing. I started racing quite young in Brazil. At that time, there was no telemetry, and I was very good to set up the car, because I built cars in Brazil as well. And then I had my own Formula One team because I like it, the mechanical development, the aerodynamic of the cars, and that helped me in my career too.
And then after 2 years, you won your second Formula One championship with McLaren. What would you say have been the differences between the cars of Lotus and the McLaren?
The M23 was a beautiful car, but not as consistent as the Lotus. We have to change a lot from Grand Prix to Grand Prix. We had a long wheelbase, medium wheelbase, short wheelbase, different front wing, different rear wing. McLaren team was better organized than Lotus on the logistic of the team. By example, we are going to race in Watkins Glen. They already prepared a special car for Watkins Glen. And it was great to work with McLaren too. I was very happy. A very young team. Most of the guys was from New Zealand. And it was different from Lotus. But Lotus had Colin, who was a genius. Had Peter Ward, team manager, who was the best team manager at that time in Formula One. The chief mechanic was Eddie Dennis, who was incredible. They had a very good quality people, Lotus, when I was there for sure. Good people.
And afterwards, after your second championship title, you decided to go back to Brazil, make up your own team, together with your brother. And so you became a pioneer of Brazilian motorsport.
We had always this big challenge because at that time I already won 2 championships, one for Lotus, one for McLaren. And we decided to build a Brazilian team. It was extremely difficult at that time. We had a factory only 100 meters from the gate of Interlagos.
Yeah.
The car was built at Interlagos and was a big challenge, and our best result was the Brazilian Grand Prix in 1978 when I finished second, and for us it was fantastic. But it was a very hard work. And then the last year of the team, because the Formula One team is the people who is behind that makes the team work. And then I had the Peter Ward team manager. Yeah. I had the Keke Rosberg as my teammate. And I had the first work for Adrian Newey. It was first design of Adrian Newey on my car. But then I didn't have sponsorship to continue. And I had Harvey Postwaite, who was another engineer, fantastic. Ricardo Dívida. We have the best team, but we couldn't continue because of lack of sponsorship.
That was very hard for you, I think, to know now we're in to get to really perform, and now we need to stop.
It was very difficult to tell, like to Adrian Newey, Harvey Postwaite, Peter Ward, we cannot continue the team. It was difficult, but that's part of life.
And then you made a short break of your racing career, and you came back, I think, 5 years later in the now called IndyCar.
It was a challenge because Colin Chapman won Indianapolis with Jim Clark in 1965. And I always ask Colin, how was to race Indianapolis? I always have interesting to race there. Jochen Rindt hated. I asked Jochen because he tested, he never raced. He had a crash. And I said, Jochen, how was to try Indianapolis? He said, I'll never go back to that shit place. But I love it because it's fast corners. I always like fast corners. To me, I had a second dream to race in Indianapolis.
And you won there 2 times.
And I was, lucky again to have a Patrick Chip Ganassi team. And then I drove many years for Penske. They're one of the best teams. In motor races, it's very important to have good people around because not just driving, the car, the team have to perform.
Everything needs to fit together to really perform in all ways. Just a question about Adrian Newey, because nowadays he's known as the brain of all these aerodynamic things. How did he start working with you?
Well, we found that he was the best student. I think was I'm trying to remember what university in England, the best aerodynamic students. And then Peter Ward said, well, I'm getting a young guy from, I'm trying to remember the name of the university. I don't remember now. But we are getting the best aerodynamist engineer, very young, to join us. That's his first job in Formula One. And he's another genius, you know. We see the Red Bull now. Everywhere he went, he won the World Championship.
Yeah. He really knows what he's doing. And I think, yeah, he loves his work.
He's a genius, very serious about. And we see the Red Bull now. Max Verstappen winning everything.
Yeah. So, as I am a woman, I would like to ask you some questions, because I know that in the 70s, Lola Lombardi was the one woman racing Formula One, and she was the only woman ever gained some points in a Formula One championship. Did you knew her, or can you tell us something about her?
I knew her well because one of my friends, Italian friends, sponsored her. And then I met her many times. She was very dedicated. She was very focused on the sport. She did some good race. I was surprised. And she enjoyed drive Formula One. It was good. I think made a big publicity in Formula One too. And
now your last son, Enno, is racing again. He started in the Formula 4 and now he's in the Formula 3. What is the difference for you, knowing how it felt for you and now standing on the outside and just have a look?
The way that the sport developed, now with the telemetry, all the analytics, is so much more complicated because they can check every meter the car is running on the track, everything, you know, what gear, the gearbox, the steering wheel position, the angle of the car, the engine performance, where he's braking, how much he's braking, where he's changing gears. And it's all mathematic. Now it's like a science.
Yes.
It turns from sport to a science, to the level of perfection. When the Formula One car does one lap, they know exactly what's happened and how should happen to improve with all the information they have.
And nowadays, every round should be the perfect one in order to win.
It's very difficult. They are very close to the lap time. It's a different type of thinking. The steering wheel is very complex. Yep. A lot of numbers, mathematics, science. But still the talent is extremely important. You know, you see some of the teams, the number one driver, the number two driver is a big difference.
It seems a little bit that the feeling of Formula One has gone away with all these telemetric informations.
No, the way Formula One now, I like it. You know, this year we had some good races. Las Vegas was a fantastic event.
What a location.
The location, the race was a fantastic race. And I think with the new group, Liberty Media, they are making Formula One much more popular. They are reaching a new public. Actually, a lot of girls, ladies because of the Netflix film, they like to see the driver, what's going on. And in America, they increased nearly 50% of the female audience on TV because they like to see the part of the human being. And that's fantastic.
And what are your plans with Enno for next year? Can you tell us something about it, or are you still in the plans?
Well, we are planning for him to race the Euro Cup 3s like a Formula 3, for him to get experience. And then the year after, we don't know yet, but I think he's going to race Euro Cup 3.
And do you give him some tips, or is he more the one who say, well, Daddy, okay, I'm going to do it on my own?
I try to advise him, but the father, he needs always a coach because the relationship father and son is too emotional. and sometimes doesn't work. He needs a coach.
That's true. I had an interview with him before, and he's a really nice guy, good in talking. So I really enjoyed talking to him. And he's in his brain, he's very into what he's doing, and he loves thinking about it.
Yes. No, he's very intelligent, like the mother.
And he got the feeling for racing from you, so that would be a perfect combination.
And people don't know, but my wife's grandfather was the first guy to race Porsche in Brazil and import a Porsche. And then I think I was 6, 7 years old, and my father in Interlagos said, Emerson, there is a Porsche in Brazil, come to see, first Porsche. Well, my wife's grandfather. And then he has blood, racing blood from both families.
So that would be the perfect start. But how about your daughter? Is she also racing?
She raced kart, very successful in Homestead, in Florida. And then the mother didn't want her to continue. But we are going back next week to the States. She wants to try again the kart.
Because often the young girls in kart are really, really good. And then someone is telling them be a little bit more, not so fast, that could be dangerous. And then they got drop off.
My wife was too concerned. And she asked Victoria to stop. But she still wants to try.
So we will see. Perhaps they are racing against each other, your two last children.
I hope so one day.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you.